The last airplane here, the unusual one we see on the kicking off, I believe that's Sam Maxwell, number 69, Illegal Eagle. And the yellow and black Bully Bee, number 11, I believe was the last airplane off. So now as we try to pick them up on the backside of the course, the red and white airplane, which we think is number 1 of Mike Penquit, who's being challenged right off the bat by Danny Mortensen in the AMSOL Pacific Flyer. Then third place is that orange and yellow, it should be number 55, it looked like from here. Yeah. Now, as we pick them up on that number 6 turn on this sport biplane course, it looks like it should be, yes, I believe it's Mike Penquit, but he just lost that number 1 position to Danny Mortensen in race number 91. And then number 55 is the third place airplane. And fourth airplane, I can't discern right now who that is. A moment, there you see that wing wag, and he scrubbed off a little speed right there. Sam Maxwell second, Guy Paquin third. Well, he turned a 196. He increased his speed by every lap and finishing it up with a 196 and an average of 188. There's Mike Penquit. And Drew Detch almost catching him. And Dave Morse in 111. And the last of the field coming around now, Doug Kemp in the yellow and black Bully Bee. Okay, the racing biplanes are now history of Heat Race 1A, the 5-lapper. Well, I say Bob can't do all the things that he says he's going to do now. Normally he likes to really play the wind, but there's no wind out here, as you can tell. A little trail of red smoke now for identification coming out behind Bob there as he completes the insider barnstormer loop. So I bet Bob a quarter again today that he can't roll clear in from the front of the crowd without ever restarting the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, those 2 maneuvers were real well done. Here's a 180-degree turn. So we'll see how well Bob does with this entire energy management series. Now remember, the bet is he's got to come clear up here in front of the stands without ever restarting the engine. W's got a long, long ways to go. I'll get him when he makes that 90-degree turn off the runway. What's this? Hey, Sandy. I think Bob is not on the runway. Looks like he's coming down the taxiway. That can't be a bet. That's got to be a no bet, Sandy. Get your quarter out this one. Come on, he's supposed to land on the runway and then make a 90-degree turn. Get your quarter out, Driscoll. I've seen this happen before. The guys are in cahoots. Well, as you can see, he's still running out of energy. Because there's no wind, there's no way he's going to make it clear up here. See how slow he's getting? And remember that Reno slopes from dead. But at any rate, I don't know how many of you folks know that when the Aero Commander was made back in Bethany, Oklahoma for the first time, it was the first twin-engine light airplane that was ever made legal to carry a president of the United States. And that is a little background history on the Aero Commander.
Hello, baby.
Commander, Light Attack Wing Pacific Fleet, and the United States Navy welcome you to the FA-18 Hornet flight demonstration for 1990. The FA-18 is the Navy and Marine Corps' newest and most versatile aircraft. Since its induction into the fleet in 1983, the Hornet has consistently proved its exceptional ability to fight its way into hostile enemy area, deliver its ordnance with unmatched accuracy, and fight its way home in a manner far superior to any other aircraft in the world today. The flight demonstration which you will be witnessing today is flown by Navy Lieutenant Commander Greg DeBolt, a native of Kimball, Nebraska. Lieutenant Commander DeBolt earned his wings of gold in September of 1982 in Kingsville, Texas. He has accrued over 2,000 flight hours, 1,000 of which are in the FA-18 Hornet. Lieutenant Commander DeBolt is currently serving as an instructor pilot with a Strike Fighter Squadron 125 located in Lemoore, California. In today's flight, Lieutenant Commander DeBolt will demonstrate the vast flight envelope of the FA-18 Hornet. He will maneuver his aircraft under G-forces ranging from 0 to nearly 8 times the force of gravity and airspeeds ranging from 120 to over 600 miles per hour. Now, to your right, you can hear the Hornet's 2 GE 404 engines spooling up, producing over 32,000 pounds of thrust. After a brief checkout of the Hornet systems, Lieutenant Commander DeBolt will release the brakes and accelerate his aircraft to a takeoff speed of 150 miles per hour. He will then pull the nose up and execute a near vertical maximum performance climb to 4,000 feet. Performance turn at 7½ times the force of gravity. During this maneuver, Lieutenant Commander DeBolt will select maximum afterburner and pull his aircraft into the vertical, performing a 1/2 Cuban 8 recovery. This particular nut pass, known by FA-18 pilots and all other Top Gun pilots as the High Alpha Pass. Approaching at a speed of 330 miles per hour to demonstrate the superb ability of the Hornet to point its nose at its adversary by executing a maximum pitch rate pull to the vertical, followed by a second maximum Every variety of military tactical jet aircraft possesses a vast array of capabilities, but one asset unique to Navy and Marine Corps tactical jets is that they must be able to complete their mission with pinpoint accuracy and return home to land on the most challenging airfield in the world, an aircraft carrier at sea. Lieutenant Commander DeVolt has executed a decelerating turn and has extended his landing gear, flaps, and tailhook. At Show Center, Lieutenant Commander DeVolt will demonstrate the exceptional wave-off capability of the FA-18 Hornet by selecting maximum afterburner and executing a 1/2 Cuban 8 maneuver with the landing gear extended. If you look closely, as you see the Hornet rolls to the upright position, you will be able to see that the landing gear is still extended. Approaching at a speed of 400 miles per hour. At Show Center, Lieutenant Commander DeVolt will again perform a maximum G pull into the vertical. However, this time, Lieutenant Commander DeVolt will execute not one, but two complete Immelman maneuvers back to back. £32,000. The FA-18 is 56 feet long, has a wingspan slightly more than 40 feet, and has a maximum gross weight in excess of 50,000 pounds. Now the Hornet will be approaching at an airspeed in excess of 650 miles per hour. At Show Center, Lieutenant Commander DeVolt will pull his aircraft straight up and execute a series of high stick deflection aileron rolls to an altitude of nearly 15,000 feet.
Bumford in number 55, a Grove design called Bummer's Bullet, and it's all white with red numbers. A very fast airplane with Don Beck at the controls and owner from Tahoe Vista, California, and a Sackert cassette called Miss Reno, race number 69. Many of you remember formerly as the Miss Flexi Flyer at one time. Number 89, Bruce Bohannon. Had dinner with Bruce last night, and he said, we're out there ready to go. I'm ready to beat the guy that built and designed my airplane. It's called Pushy Galore. It's all yellow with blue striping. Again, looking identical except in color to Texas Jim Miller's airplane. Danny Gray from Encino, California, in a beautiful new airplane, very nicely finished. Composite wing, number 96, all blue with white trim. Number 69. It's one of the lightest of the airplanes, and he weighs in very light. That's one reason why the Don Beck, also being a very small man, gets off the ground usually in number 69 very fast. Miss Reno. Now, it looks like Texas Jim Miller right in back of him, or either that may be Miller or Bohannon. Lady. But it's a lot.
The airplane was first flown in 1955, in August of 55, by the way, by the legendary Lockheed test pilot, Tony LaVere. It was such a revolutionary design that he'll admit that he almost crashed the first one because it is such a critical aircraft. But consider this, that airplane came out in 1955. It was officially retired. The U-2 was officially retired at the beginning of last summer. The Lockheed test pilots in Mojave, California, at the Edwards Air Force Base, since they were going to retire the airplane, could now disclose some of its capabilities. So they took it up under the official sanction of the National Aeronautique Association, an arm of the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, and established time to climb records from the desert floor to in excess of 73,000 feet in 12 minutes, 13 seconds. So the world finally knew, officially, the capabilities of the aircraft. Now that was with one weight load. The next day, with a lighter weight load in fuel in another class, they shattered all of those records, broke a half a dozen records on yet another run to altitude, and even reduced that time even more.
Now the U-2 is originally designed as a reconnaissance airplane, and it's been used in a lot of varieties of that same role. They've actually used the U-2 to do some work for the agricultural department in crop management programs. And one time, years ago, they actually used a U-2 to find a lost seaman out in the ocean. He had been adrift for 21 days, and by using some photographs which had been taken by the U-2, they were able to locate him some 700 miles west of San Francisco.
B-62.
Now, taking into consideration that after the initial 55 airplanes were built, the production line was shut down, only to be restarted again in 1979 because of the need of additional aircraft that were to be named the TR-1, redesignated from the U-2, but essentially the same design. Some flight, engine, and avionics improvements were involved in that aircraft. But that production line, believe it or not, only shut down in the late 1980s. An interesting note, as Tony LaVere and the other Lockheed test pilots were reaching altitudes that they had never had reached before, the fuels that they had, the jet fuels, were vaporizing. They would not keep the engine under power. So they developed a top secret fuel. It was called LF1. Ironically enough, the LF stood for lighter fluid. That is the fuel that they use to keep the engines running at those higher altitudes.
Okay, the airplane's coming in now for a low-speed pass. It's in the landing configuration. The landing gear and the flaps are extended. I want you folks to notice the unusual landing gear configuration on this airplane. At the forward part of the fuselage is a very large set of double wheels and a smaller set toward the rear. Okay, a good look at that gear. Now, when the airplane takes off, there is a set of outrigger wheels that go under each wingtip. When the airplane accelerates to about 35 miles an hour, the wings will come up off the ground and these outrigger wheels will fall off on the runway, and then they're retrieved, and I'm sure they still do it. When it first came out, the Air Force bought a couple of very high-powered El Caminos, that is to say, the Chevrolet pickup truck. And then they would put these outrigger wheels in the truck. When the airplane came down and landed on the main gear, which is right in the middle of the fuselage, this high-powered El Camino would chase it down the runway and get one of those outrigger wheels under the wingtip before it settled to the runway. True story. Trust me.
The only part that's not true is the cars were Buicks from Scott Motors here in Reno. Said that his margin of error for completing the time to climb record was only 2 miles per hour. And quite often a U-2 pilot will probably allude to the fact to you that throughout his high altitude mission, he had to maintain the speed within 6 to 8 miles per hour, lest he get either a low speed or high speed buffet. And there was the possibility then flaming the engine out and having to glide the airplane. By the way, it is a powered glider. 17,000 pounds of thrust was the first engine. It was not unusual for the airplane to flame out over certain states in the country. Let's everybody give the U-2 a wave. In one instance, one of the U-2 pilots actually flamed out over Tennessee, and they said, would you like this? Would you like this to
taking off. Following him will be in the number 16 called the Baby Gorilla, Lloyd Hamilton from Santa Rosa, California. And that airplane of Jerry J's Beautiful. Following Lloyd Hamilton on the takeoff roll now. From Fort Wayne, Indiana, Dean Kutchell. To his friends, they call him Cutter. Race number 91, the P-51D. Then from Chino, California, flying another Hawker Sea Fury with the blue camouflage paint. Race number 924, Dennis Sanders. Airplane they call a Spam Can, a P-51D, all polished out silver with war paint. Race number 28, from Chino, California, from the Chino Kids, Kevin Eldridge. Saw him in his first race that I've seen him down in Texas in June earlier this year. Jim Mott, number 42, in his Hawker Sea Fury with the big transporter Bristol Centaurus engine. All polished out. Jimmy says it was up here all year without an engine. We didn't have time to paint it. And of course, last but certainly not least, all the way from Austin, Texas, the old Colonel himself, Lefty Gardner. Lefty Gardner in a P-51D Thunderbird. Let me tell you a little bit now, if I may, about the Pace plane. For those of you who weren't here earlier, who may just have arrived. Bob Hoover, as you know, has traditionally been the air race starter. The unlimited air, and that's him taking off right now. The unlimited airplanes, ladies and gentlemen, are getting so fast with their modifications that Bob Hoover's airplane is a stock P-51 Mustang. Where the problem occurs is on the back chute, when Bob brings them down to open them the race, they're indicating at 400 miles an hour, and Bob Hoover's having to go full throttle, while the super slick race airplanes are actually having to back off the power to keep from passing Hoover. I'm not making it up, that's the truth. So something had to be done. And what they've done was they've shifted over now to the T-33, which is being utilized as a pace plane, but we can't and never will run this race without the great Bob Hoover up on high as the mother hen to all of his little chicks down here. Because when a guy gets in trouble, immediately that warm, familiar Tennessee drawl will come over. What's your position, Mayday airplane? And they'll call it out, and Hoover says, I've got you. And he gets right in on his wing, takes a look at him, tells him maybe he's got any oil on the outside of the airplane, any fire. And believe me, I've talked to these unlimited pilots that have had Maydays, and every jackman one of them, and now lady, incidentally, has said it's a warm and a reassuring sight to see Bob Hoover sitting out there guiding you in. Well, Steve Hinton was making a movie for Disney Studios on 1930 race planes here about 3 weeks ago. And upon takeoff in the Miles Atwood special, Steve had an engine failure. He managed to get the airplane into a cornfield, but he landed very hard, and he suffered a compressed vertebrae and several cuts on his forehead. Hey, his cuts all healed up great. His back is still under a little repair, and he's wearing a fiberglass brace. So he felt that he should not race Tsunami because of the G-forces. His doctor recommended that he do not. And Steve said he felt great, but he has relegated himself to fly the pace plane. Now, what better hands could the pace plane be in? Now is Bob territory to those unlimited airplanes coming in. Look at that 16-point roll. There's halfway. There's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 definite stops in a 16-point. Now pylon number 5 right there. Now on the hill, the highest pylon on the course and the fastest portion of the course, because when they come off 6, they're going downhill into the valley. Now I'm going to let you listen to these huge engines of over 4,000 horsepower as they come to us lining up on 8. Lloyd Hamilton in the lead in the Baby Gorilla. Followed by Dennis Sanders. And those other three airplanes look like they're doing formation. All right, it's two P-51s with a Sea Fury boxed in the center. But it's Lloyd Hamilton, followed by Dennis Sanders in the Hawker Sea Fury Race 924. Then Jerry coming around the leader in your first lap. And I just don't believe this man cuts pylons without knowing it. And there you have it, unofficially. Give them champion spark plugs a little rest now. Pull that power back. All right, there's a good finish. Dean Cutchell edging out Dennis Sanders right at the finish line, followed by Lloyd Hamilton. And we've got one more airplane down on the course somewhere back there, two of them as a matter of fact. And that'll be the fight between Jimmy Mott, which looks like it's going to be a race in itself. That's Jimmy Mott and Kevin Eldridge. They're battling it out. It looks like Mott ahead of the 51. Setting up for 7 now. Okay, the boys will go up and cool off those big unlimited engines. Well, here's the tell of the tale. Will it be the 51? Will it be the Sea Fury? It's going to be very tight. It's close. Eldridge dives, but to no avail. And Jimmy Mott, number 42. Okay, that's it for Unlimited 2C, with the winner, of course, being the crowd's favorite, good old Lefty Gardner.
Well, thank you, Sandy Sanders. As the Unlimiteds now cool off and get ready to come back in, the next aerobatic routine will be entertained.
There's also a private area for refreshments before and after the races, and that area is open only to Checkers Flag Club members. So stop on down and see the people of the Checkers Flag Club with the yellow and white tent. Just behind the grandstand area to the west of the tower. Those of you who are planning on coming out again in the morning, the annual pancake breakfast sponsored by the local Boy Scouts troops and the Reno Plum Lane Lions from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock every morning. $4 for all the pancakes you can eat, including ham, eggs, and drinks, and it's on Alpha Avenue between Mount Lola and Mount Charleston. So come on out and join us for breakfast. We're going to put the pair, the parade car, and right now they're drawing lots for who's going to drive the car. Duluth. As I mentioned earlier, folks, the people who do so much to sponsor their show are helping to underwrite the cost of your tickets. And that's why we want so much to say thanks. We'd like to run down the list of who they are one more time. Sponsoring Pepsi Skyrider, we got the Pepsi-Cola Company. Victor Aviation sponsoring Mr. Bob Booker. The Golden Knights were sponsored by the Reno Sparks Convention and Visitors Authority. The Eagles Aerobatic Team sponsored by Tactile Cellular. In a little while, we're going to see Joanne Osterud, sponsored by Pepsi-Cola Company, and Danny Flisham. What that?
Okay, field director, attention, all to the left. takeoff portion of the runway, you'll see Leo Mountainslogger as that, and then to win the World Aerobatic Championship. When Leo started the quest, there was not an aircraft available that he considered capable of challenging the Russian and Czechoslovakian monoplanes. Although building such an aircraft from scratch to go against odds, overwhelmingly odds, was unheard of, Leo set out to do just that. A new aircraft called the Stevens Acro had just been built in California. Although this aircraft wasn't proven, it had one ingredient that Leo felt was essential for winning combination. The aircraft was a mid-wing design. At that time, world aerobatic competition was dominated by low-wing monoplanes and biplanes. Without previous aircraft building experience, construction begun on this new aerobatic aircraft. 3 years later, the aircraft was ready for test. Much like a person that you would try to interview running a triathlon contest. So Leo back at Air Show Center once again. Right about here, he pulls back on the stick, straight up into the sky, as he references now the horizon. Now there's the Bud light on the side. Now here's another maneuver that's very unusual. It was only developed in years past, the 4-point sectional hammerhead turn. 1, 2, 3, and 4 hesitations across that hammerhead turn. Now, off to the right once again, we'll get a variation of the vertical climb. It will be a point series, as he does 1 and 2 points of an 8-point hesitation slow roll. Sets it up now. He'll be soon setting up for the standing S. Now, once again, as we're talking about defying gravity, watch this as he heads up for the S, drawn in the sky, done the hard way from the ground up with a civilian-owned aircraft. Across the top now, you see he's lit off those wingtip smoke canisters. The bottom of the S is now complete. Continues to fly that S. Now he's going to have to push the stick forward to be able to gain the altitude in the negative or outside G environment. Now nobody knows this airplane like Leo does. He will push every knot of speed out of the airplane, playing it right across the top, defying this heat and density altitude, and there you see the standing S. How about a big round of applause for Leo? Okay, we're going to the cockpit now as Leo gets ready to dedicate the next maneuver. Leo, it's all yours.
All right, Denny. Of course, this is my favorite time to bring out the best lump shot. We've taken a little bit of extra altitude this time just for this maneuver. But after this, everything else is just a light.
Everything else after this is just a light, so watch this as Leo gets ready for this tumbling maneuver. Right about in here, he'll go into knife edge flight, rolling all the way around, and the airplane tumbles nose over tail over nose over tail. The momentum stops. He picks up the horizon, and the give it your best Lapshavak is complete. And I don't know if you could hear it or not, but he said, "Woo-ha! That was a good one." Yeah, that was like a bucking bronco. The Lapshavak, loosely translated, as we told our crowd yesterday, from Czechoslovakian slang, is the equivalent in Czechoslovakian of drinking too much plum brandy. The quadruple snap roll, 1, 2, 3, and 4 across the top. Now get ready. Direct your attention out to the start-finish pylon. Out there, you can see the crew from the Bud Light Air Force. They have 2 poles. The poles are only a couple of feet wide, so that the poles are not very high. He's going to have to work awful close to the ground. Now the part that I didn't tell you, he's going to try this upside down as he rolls the airplane into the inverted flight position. Down, lower and lower comes the rudder, as you can see it making its way down towards that very, very hard. It clips that ribbon clean and snap rolls the airplane into a half snap, into knife edge flight, the rudder waggle, and Leo breaks the ribbon clean. Ladies and gentlemen, your sky champion, and a man who was inspired right here in Reno, Nevada for this kind of flight back in 1964, the one and the only Leo, the Looper Laudenslager, the boss man, the 4-star general of the Bud Light Air Force. Now once again, looking at the ribbon, giving you an inverted wave. Everybody give him a wave up and down the line because he'll be looking out that canopy to see the final approach to landing. Now, a lot of people will say, well, he'll never make it because he is way too high. You have to know that you have to be somewhat lower to make it. Now, he is lower, but he is way too fast. Well, remember, you're talking about the champion. So this is the landing we call the Leo the Looper landing. So far, we got 2 big loops, still over relatively close to the threshold of the active runway. Upside down once again. Now he's going to dissipate that altitude, but once again, the speed will pick up. He's got to bleed off all that speed. Now watch how he does this. Remember how he started his routine? Down off the deck, rolls the airplane once, twice, 3 times. Into knife edge flight. Is that the way he started? I think it is. And a beautiful 3-point landing, as he has done so many times. What a Sky champion, Budweiser and Bud Light.
Cross out to the far right-hand side. Shuts the smoke off, goes for a little altitude. Jimmy Franklin high overhead. Snap roll 1. Snap roll 2. And 3. Now aiming it right to the ground there. Snap roll 4. Now 5. Straightening it out now, looking for the speed to come through 220 miles an hour as he comes down through shoal center and vertical into the sky. Executes snap roll, reverses, plum shivak, nose patel, delta nose, upside, down and out of control, and now the worst configuration any pilot can get into, the flat inverted spin, a maneuver that's carried many pilots and their planes all the way to the ground, 3 turns, 4 turns. 5 turns out of it! Is that some kind of fun? Oh yeah! As he goes vertically into the sky now, and Leo Loudspeaker brings the Bud Light right at shoal center. Reeling it around now, he'll be undoing it. And Jimmy Franklin out of the snap roll, and a 2-turn inverted spin. Leo out of the backbend! Okay, Leo! Oh yeah! And Jimmy Franklin bringing that airplane in a flat inverted spin. Time to get out. Oh yeah, time to get out. Oh yeah. And Jimmy out to the far right-hand side. Elliott Crawford altitude now at shoal center. Jimmy Franklin rolling it as he climbs vertically into the sky. Off to the far right-hand side goes Jimmy down through the bottom now. And all the forces trying to shove him out of the cockpit. Calling on all the power of that engine. Carry that aircraft across the top, completing the outside loop. Oh yeah! And snap rolling it once on the way down comes Elliott across at a 45-degree line. Out to the left-hand side. Bring that beautiful super steerman out to the left-hand side and vertically into the sky. And in a little while, you're going to see this steerman combat the Waco. Over the top now with Family 9 style turnaround to the inverted position now, aiming it right into the ground on the way down from the left-hand side, snap roll 1. And then Jimmy Franklin, quick smoke on it, the far right-hand side, lifts the nose up and snap rolls it. Elliott Crawford pulls off stage. Jimmy Franklin with 3 snaps now, straightening it out and coming straight down. Speed's coming through 190 to 200 miles an hour. And he comes through from the right-hand side, vertically into the sky now, and starts to roll the aircraft at the top. The aircraft no longer wanting to climb. He will leave the engine in a high rev position. Reverse the ailerons right now. Torque down through smoke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lengths of that airplane backwards. Out of it. Is that some kind of flying? Oh yeah! As he comes out of it, and Jimmy Franklin leaves his signature in the skies over Reno, Nevada. And Elliott Cross them out of that, and right out towards Jimmy Franklin at the left-hand side. Elliott Cross banks it around, really sharp, over the top now, and down towards shoal center comes Elliott Cross, diving it down now and letting the speed build up to 195, 200 miles an hour, levels it off at shoal center, goes vertically into the sky. Holding a vertical line now, starting to roll the airplane at the left-hand side. Jimmy Franklin up with the same maneuver, rolling the aircraft into the sky. Elliott Cross, hard left rudder, full throttle, hammerhead turn. Jimmy Franklin, tight little loop over the top. Elliott Cross, down at the far right-hand side with a snap roll. Jimmy Franklin with a snap roll and follows Elliott Cross. Rolling through shoal center. Goes up on one side of an 8-sided loop now to Elliott Cross, bringing out snap roll across the top is 4 sides of an 8-sided loop with Jimmy. Over the top is Elliott Cross the far right. Slow roll right through shoal center. Penetrating straight into the sky now the far left-hand side, or right-hand side. Over the top, Jimmy Franklin. Over the top of it, turnaround. Elliott Cross with the bunt maneuver. Right-hand side. Jimmy Franklin shuts the smoke off, goes for some altitude. Elliott Cross vertical at shoal center. Half a roll on the way up. Tucks the stick back in his lap. Over the top at about 40 miles an hour in less than 3 seconds to 180 miles an hour.
shut your smoke off. Have you been entertained? Oh, yeah! Out to the far left-hand side goes Elliot Cross and Jimmy Franklin, the super steerman and the Wacko mystery ship. Come back, just like in the movie. Elliot Cross and Jimmy Franklin. Elliot rolls it upside down. Jimmy Franklin sucking in underneath of him. Mirror flight, get your cameras up. This is a pretty sight. Mirror flight, one up, one down. Oh, yeah! Mirror flight, is that beautiful? Oh, Jimmy Franklin and Elliot Cross, the duel in the sky. And this is brought to you, ladies and gentlemen, by the Miller Brewing Company. To the inverted tube, holding it there and allowing the tail to sink down to the runway. 5 feet above the runway. And now rolling it again with 2 points to the upright position, holding it on knife edge, banking it out to the far left-hand side, be circling around and coming in for a landing. They're going to land right over the Unlimited and pull it off at the